Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you have clicked on this video. I'm so excited to be doing a monthly reading wrap-up where I discuss all of the books that I read in March, and I have not done one for February or January, but you guys can totally check out my Instagram. It's at rosies_book_world, where I have talked about all of the other books that I read for the first few months of the year. And sometime in June, I'm thinking I'm going to do a video where I recap all of the books that I've read for the first half of the year. So let me know if that's something that you want to see. But I'm very excited to discuss the books that I read in March. I read 11 books, and I found some really good ones. I found some ones that were overhyped, and I'm just so excited to discuss them with you guys. So let's hop right into it. The first book that I read in March was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I gave this book a 4.75 out of 5. So obviously I absolutely loved it so much, and it was just so unexpected because I am not a friends to lovers girly. Like, it's very rare when I love a friends to lovers book. Like, it has to be done so well. I love watching friends to lovers movies and TV shows, but for some reason it's just not my favorite thing to read about. I am an enemies to lovers girl all the way, but this book just really surprised me. It was so sweet, it was so swoon-worthy, it was so wholesome, it was just adorable, and I absolutely loved the characters. There's no spice in this, which I appreciate, because I think that it would have just have ruined the vibe, you know, like it just wouldn't have matched with this type of book, this type of very sweet romance. I have done a video actually where I read rom-coms for a week, so I really go into some in-depth opinions about this book in that video. So if you want to see more of my thoughts on this book, then please go watch that video. But I will say that this was just such an adorable romance. I loved Sarah Adams' writing style, and I can't wait to read more books by this author. And it's basically about this girl named Bree. She's had feelings for her friend Nathan for so many years. She doesn't think anything's gonna happen until a situation kind of forces them to enter into this fake relationship. And it's dual POV, and I just love this book, guys. Like, please read it. Please. The next book that I read was Addicted to You. This is by Kristen Becker-Ritchie, and this basically follows the story of Lily and Lo, who've been friends for so long, and never friends to lovers, and they both have addictions that they're struggling with. Lo is an alcoholic, and our girl Lily is addicted to spice. So basically they decide to enter into a fake relationship to try and convince their family members that they are stable, but they're not giving in to their addictions. Lily's family doesn't even know that she has ever had this addiction at all. So that's basically how they enter into their fake relationship, and then obviously they start to catch real feelings for each other. And this book also has a lot of found family aspects as well, and it's college romance, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I think that this is a really interesting book. It's very interesting, and it's very well written, and I think it's a great introduction to this long book series. The series is 10 books long, and you follow like the other sisters in some of the books that come after the first Free Addicted books, I think. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I just think that it was difficult for me to connect with these characters. And again, I do talk about this book so much more in my Reading Rom-Coms for a Week video. So please go watch that if you want to hear more about my long opinions about this book. But yeah, I just didn't connect with the characters, not even just because of their addictions, but just them as people, you know, like I didn't dislike them, but I just couldn't connect with them, which made it difficult for me to root for their romance. And yeah, but like I did enjoy it, and I still do think about this book from time to time. So yeah, and it does have some spice, of course, because, you know, Lily is a spice addict, but I still think that those scenes can be easy to skip if you really want to read it. But then at the same time, she's always like thinking, you know, about spicy scenarios. So it's not always so easy to skip past that, to skip past like her POV and her viewpoint. But I would say that I'm excited to read the other books in the series, especially to get to Rose and Connor's book, because listen, they were only in this book for like 5 minutes and I was obsessed with both of them. And I love Reich so much. I think he was just amazing. So I'm very excited to see what happens in the rest of the series and to read the next book. I will 100% be continuing with this series very soon. The next book that I decided to pick up for my rom-com video was Mr. Wrong Number. This was written by Lynn Painter, and let's talk about what it's about first before I discuss why I only gave it 2 out of 5. It's about this girl named Olivia Marshall. She's always been kind of a klutz, and she's recently just had this horrible breakup with her boyfriend, and so she has to move in with her brother and her brother's best friend. And her and her brother's best friend, whose name is Colin, they've always kind of disliked each other. They've known each other for a long time, and they've always just never really gotten along. But things begin to change. She kind of gets to see a new side to Colin, and then she's also kind of got this texting relationship going on with someone who accidentally got her number. I wonder who it could be, right? But yeah, that's basically what it's about without giving too much away. And again, if you want to hear more about this book, check out my rom-com video. I love Lynn Painter. Like, she's one of my favorite authors of all time. Like, Better Than the Movies is one of the best romance books ever. Like, that's my favorite book of all time. I gave it 6 stars, and I love The Do-Over. I love Betting on You. But here's the issue with this adult rom-com. It was just way too physical. It was way too physical, and there was hardly any emotional connection between Olivia and Colin. And I think that Lynn pours so much emotional depth into her YA romances because, you know, they're YA romances. They can't have spice, right? So I think that Lynn was excited to try an adult rom-com where she could put spice and like heavy physical attraction into a book, and I think that it took away from the emotional connection. And another thing is that the main character, Olivia Marshall, is so rude, she's so disrespectful, she's so childish, she's so annoying, she's so immature. Like, I hate to say this, but I couldn't stand her. I thought she was just awful to read about. Like, I hated being in her POV. I really did, and I just didn't think that she was charming at all. Like, there was nothing great about her. And then the guy, Colin, like, he was fine, but he was just so bland and like just very perfect on paper, but there was nothing special about him, like nothing special. And it just really surprised me that this book was written by the same person who wrote, you know, one of my favorite books ever. But yeah, I would not recommend this book. I mean, I would recommend it if you want like a very quick, just, you know, bingeable, spicy time. It's not even super duper spicy, but like, it's just so based on physical attraction. But if you just want something very quick to breeze through, then I would recommend it. But otherwise, just I really can't see myself ever being like, you should read this book by Lynn. Like, this is just not a good book in my opinion, and I'm so sorry if you like it. You know, I'm so happy if you were able to enjoy it, but I wasn't, and I was very disappointed, unfortunately. So that was what I took away from this book. The next book I read was Butcher and Blackbird. This was not a part of the rom-com video. I was just in a romance mood, and I did get a prompt for March because I used TBR prompts to read a pink book, and I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to read Butcher and Blackbird. Like, I have been wanting to read this book for ages because I've seen so many people discuss it. I've heard some wild things about this book. We all have heard about the accidental cannibalism, and I'm gonna be honest, the scene was gross, but it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, if that makes any sense. And one thing that I do love is that you do get to see all of the trigger warnings, like, right before you read the book. So I really do like when authors put trigger warnings right in like the introduction part of the book. I think that's really important for dark romance books like this. But yeah, this was a very fun, weird, strange book. Very weird and fun and strange. And it's about these two serial killers named Rowan and Sloane, and they both kind of have like this weird chance encounter. They quickly become friends, and they have a lot in common. They both kill other serial killers and just, murderers and just like bad people. And then they have this friendship that's starting to develop, and they also have this rivalry going on where they try to like see who can kill, a serial killer before the other one. And then obviously their friendship starts to develop into something more. I really think that this was a very unique concept for a romance book. I've never read a book like this in my entire life. It's dark, but then it's comedy, and then it's got mystery and thriller, and it's just a mixture of all these different things, which I appreciated. Like, there was never a dull or boring moment in this book. And I did like Rowan and Sloane. I wasn't obsessing over their romance or them as characters, but I did like them a lot. And then this book is obviously very, very spicy. It's not like there's spice in every single chapter, but once they get together, if you know what I mean. And I will say that Sloane has a lot of decoration in a certain private area of her body, and I'm not judging. I promise I'm not judging, but it just made me very squeamish to read about because I'm a very visual person. And so when I found that out about her, I was just very squeamish, during those scenes that they were having together. I will say that. But I enjoyed this book a lot. I gave it a 3.5, which I know isn't that high of a rating, but it is so out of my comfort zone. It's such a wild and just wacky book, but I think that it's a very fun book to read. I would recommend if you like dark, unique romance books. And I don't think I'm going to continue with the series because I've seen some people that have absolutely loved this book give the second book in the series like not that high of a rating, so I don't think I'm going to continue, but I had a fun time. The next book that I decided to pick up for March was City of Glass, written by Cassandra Clare, and this is the third book in the Mortal Instruments series, so I'm not going to be obviously discussing the plot of this book because I would not want to spoil this series for anyone who hasn't read it. But basically this is an urban YA fantasy series. It's basically Harry Potter fan fiction. Like, it is. It's basically Harry Potter fan fiction, but set in New York, and it's very adventurous. You're following this girl named Clary Frey, who just thinks she's a regular girl until one day she discovers that her mother's been keeping a secret from her, and that she is a part of the line of shadow hunters, this group of people that basically defeat demons and dark forces. I am enjoying this series a lot. Well, not a lot, but I am enjoying it. It's a fun series, it's very wacky. You cannot take it too seriously at all. But I do enjoy urban fantasy. I really do. There's something so interesting about it being set in like the real world, but then you're walking down the street and then a demon might just jump up on a car or something. Like, that's very fun to read about. But yeah, I will say that this book, was not as good as the second book in the series. The second book, City of Ashes, is my favorite so far, but I am having fun with this series, and I do get to see a lot more of one of my favorite characters in this book, Simon. He's my favorite character. Him, Isabel, and Alec, and Magnus are like my favorites. I'm not too crazy about Clary and Jace because they do give me the ick. And I'm not going to say why they give me the ick, but their romance is forbidden. And I'm not going to say how it's forbidden or why, in case you don't know. But if you know, you know. And they just gave me the ick a lot in this book. But yeah, this was just a fun, quick, well, not quick. What am I saying? It wasn't quick at all. Cassandra Clare loves her long chapters, and her books are like 500 pages, and then she'll have like 19 chapters, maybe 22 chapters if you're lucky. I hate long chapters. I really do. So I wish she had shorter chapters. But this was an adventurous, fun, urban fantasy book. I really liked the villain in this book. I like the twists that we got. And I'm excited to eventually get to the fourth book in the series. I really am. Then I decided to read A 7-Letter Word. This is written by an author named Kim Slater. I got a prompt to read a book that I was certain I was going to give 1 star, like a 1-star prediction read. And it wasn't that I genuinely believed that this book was going to be a 1-star, but it's very middle grade, and I didn't know what else to pick. So it was between this or Haunting Adeline, and then I was like, I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm not going to read Haunting Adeline. So I was like, let's just pick this, right? And it ended up being definitely not 1 star. It ended up being 4.5, like crazy. And I'm not gonna lie, this is probably a book that I won't even think about ever again, but it was such a fun time while I was reading it, and I was so impressed. And if I would have read this book when I was like 10 or 12 or whatever, it definitely would have been like my obsession. Like I would have made this book my entire personality, because I used to love reading books like this. Books like Wonder, like I love books like this, guys. It basically follows this young boy. His mom has kind of left him and his dad, and he's all alone, and he has this stutter that he gets bullied for a lot. But his one escapism, since he doesn't like to talk too much because he gets made fun of when he stutters, he likes to play Scrabble a lot. And eventually he's entered into this Scrabble competition, and then there's this whole subplot of him like trying to find his mom, and it's just a very well written, very moving middle grade book. I'm not going to talk about it too long because I know a lot of you guys probably don't read middle grade books like this, but sometimes middle grade books are just where it's at. It's like sometimes middle grade books are just what you need. They're so wholesome, they're quick. I read this in like 5 hours, and it was just really cute and just quirky, and I love the main character. I love representation. I love the stutter representation as well. And I just think it was just a very beautiful book. And if I ever have kids, I would love to like pass this book down to them and let them read it. And it was just a really cute time. And if you do enjoy middle grade books, or if you just want something quick to read, then I definitely think that you should check out this book. The next book that I picked up was You Wouldn't Catch Me Dead by Tess James Mackey. I read one of her books last year called Someone Is Watching You, and I gave that book 5 stars. Like, I love it so much, so please go check out that book. It was brilliant. This book was really fun and amazing. It just wasn't as good as Someone Is Watching You, but it was still a really fun time. It's about this girl named Keely, and she is going on this wilderness camping trip, which is supposed to like boost up some of her like school points to help her get into college. And suspicious things start to happen. People start to go missing. They get stranded. And then it's kind of like this question of like, is someone doing this to them, or is it supernatural? And it kind of keeps you guessing. And it was just a really fun YA mystery thriller, very easy and quick to binge read. All of her books, well, I say all of her books, the 2 of her books that I've read are very easy and quick to binge. and I definitely recommend them both. I think it would be so fun if you want to do like a 24-hour readathon and you just want to binge both of her books in that video or in your 24-hour readathon. Then I think that would be such a fun idea. There's no romance in this book, but there is such a beautiful friendship that develops between Keely and then someone else in the camping trip, and it's just the most wholesome, most lovely friendship ever. And I just really liked how eerie this book was. I love YA mysteries, and it was written really well, and I really liked the main character, so I definitely recommend this one. It was very fun. The next book that I picked up was Geek Girl by Holly Small. I got a prompt to read a book that I think was published like before 2018, which this definitely was. I've owned this book for like years, and so I was thinking, let's just read it. Let's see if it's good. If it's not good, I can get it off my shelf and make space for new books. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars, and it was a fun book. I was almost thinking it was going to be higher than a 4-star read, but I'll tell you why it wasn't in a second. But first off, it's about this girl named Harriet Manners. She's very smart, she's very quirky, she's very clever. She's always been made fun of for being a geek, for just knowing so much. And then she has a best friend who wants to be a model, and so they kind of go to like this, I think it's like this mall where there are like model scouts there that day, and then Harriet actually gets selected to be a model, which shocks her, her dad and her stepmom as well, because she's just not that type of girl. She's not a girly girl, you know, so it's very shocking. But then she eventually decides to sign up to this modeling agency and to just give it a go, and the story goes on from there. It's a very quirky, adorable book. Again, if I would have read this when I was like 12 years old, would have been obsessed. And I say it's early YA because it is labeled as YA, but there's like nothing in there that's like, you know, explicit or like any like bad language or anything like that. It's very like beginner YA. Like I would say if you're a parent or if you're like a sibling looking for like one of your younger siblings, like looking for a book for them to read, then you could definitely like buy this book for them. They would love it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked the main character. I liked the writing style. And again, this book has so many chapters, like so many short chapters, which I love short chapters. It's like, I think the book is 400 pages and then it's got like 80 chapters or something like that, and the pacing was just brilliant. The reason why this was not a 5-star read or higher than a 4 stars because I felt like a lot of the adults in this book were so childish, were so wacky, and again, it is like a very young book, so I don't expect the characters in this book to be super duper serious, but like it was just crazy. Harriet was like the only one who was like super serious, and her stepmom as well. But like aside from that, like especially the guy who was like her assistant or like her manager or whatever you want to call him, I can't even remember his name, and I'm glad that I can't because he just bothered me so much. He was so like over the top, like extra annoying. Like I couldn't stand him. Like I hated reading any scene that he was in. Like he meant well, but he was just so annoying. But this was a fun book. There is some romance in this. It's very small, and it's like very insta, like not love because they're like kids, but like they're not kids, they're 15, but you know, but it's very like insta like, I would say. But it's a cute book, and I recommend if you just want a fun quick read. Next, I decided to read Matched. This is by Ali Condi, and I got a prompt to read a book that I was positive that Barbie would love. And I was like thinking about Barbie from the amazing movie that came out last year, where she has to live in Barbie land and everything is kind of planned out for her. Like, you know, how she has to act, what she has to wear, like who she's gonna end up with. And I was thinking like, oh, Matched seems quite similar. Like I think Barbie would enjoy this book because Matched is about this young girl who's living in this society where everything is kind of dictated for you, like what job you're gonna have, what age you're gonna die, who you're gonna marry. And I enjoyed it a lot. Well, I enjoyed a lot of aspects about this book. Like, I was positive it was going to be like 5 stars, like after the first like 100 pages, and then it just kind of got a little bit slow. But it's about this girl named Cassia who's living in this society where these officials decide everything about your life, and she has just recently gotten matched to end up with someone for the rest of her life. And then something kind of happens where it's like this glitch in the system, but then she's starting to wonder, was it a glitch? And then she starts to, throughout the book, she starts to like question the society and their authority, and like if they're actually doing what's best for everyone. It was a fun dystopian book. It's very dystopian. Like, it definitely, and I don't necessarily want to compare it to books like Shatter Me and The Selection, because those books are just 5-star reads for me. I love those books so much. But it does give off those vibes. I think it was written in like that era where all those dystopian books were coming out. We all know that the era of like from like 2008 to 2012, like during those years, dystopian books were just all the rage. Like, they were so popular. They still are now, but like they were just so popular back then. So it definitely gave some nostalgia from that era for sure. And it was just, it was a cute book, you know, it was, but I would say that like it had so much potential to be great, and it just felt very slow and dragged out. I kept waiting for something big to happen, and nothing big really happened. The romance was very cute at first, like I was almost obsessed with it, and then it just got very boring, very complacent, very dull, and then I just wasn't obsessed with the story or the characters, but I liked the plot, you know. But I just think that the plot should have been more exciting, you know, and I think it took too long to take form. I really do. But it was a cute read, like I said, and I think if you love dystopian books, you'll enjoy giving this one a go. I don't think I'm going to continue with the series. I know there are 2 other books. If you've read the other 2 books in this series, maybe you can convince me to finish off this trilogy, even though I don't see that happening. But I'm happy that I finally read it, because I've always wanted to read this book. Always. So I'm happy it's finally off the TBR. The next book I decided to read was a book called 13. This is by an author named Tom Hoyle, and I got a prompt to read a dystopian book, and I think I may have messed up a little bit, because this book isn't really dystopian. It has dystopian vibes, like it feels dystopian, but it's not, because it's not set in the future. It's not like a society that dictates everything. It's set in London, and it's basically about this young boy named Adam, and he's just living like this regular life, and he has no idea that danger is coming for him, that there's this crazy cult of people that are convinced that they need to eliminate Adam before he turns 14, because they think that he's going to be a big threat to their plans, that they want to take over London. It's this very crazy plot, very crazy. But yeah, I don't want to give away too much. I think it's a really great book if you just go into it not knowing too much about it. But yeah, this was such a different read for me. You know, it's very wild. It's very crazy. Like, a lot of things go down in this book, and I don't really read too many books about like cults and like cult leader villains. So it was very interesting to step out of my comfort zone for this. It is a YA book, but I think that it's like another like great introduction for like, you know, 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds who do like dark mysteries, because there's nothing like inappropriate in this, but it is like obviously a darker read than Geek Girl, you know. But I enjoyed this book a lot. I loved the main character. I loved his friendships. I loved how creepy this book was, and I just really enjoyed the writing style. I highlighted a lot of different sentences in there, but I really enjoyed, and it was just a very fun read. I gave it 5 stars, which is very rare for me. This year has not been a good year for me finding 5-star reads, and I have read so many books this year for me, because like I've read like 30 by now, like 34 to 35 books, and last year I had only read about like 8 books, like this time last year, and I had already found like more 5 stars then than I have now. So this just proves that you don't need to read a bunch of books to be, a certified reader. But it's very rare for me to like find 5 stars this year, so I was so happy I gave this 5 stars. And this isn't even like one of my all-time favorite books ever, but it was just so fun. And when I was reading it, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give this 5 stars because I'm having the best time ever reading this book. It was just such a fun, wild, creepy, crazy ride, and I loved it. And if you like all of these themes as well, then I think you'll love this book too. So I highly recommend it. The last book that I read for March, and also my favorite book that I read in March, is Before I Fall. This is written by Lauren Oliver, and I knew I was going to adore this book. I knew it because the movie is my favorite movie ever, tied of all my other favorite movies ever. And if you have not watched this movie, please go watch it. I rewatched it a couple months ago, and it is just the best movie ever. Like, I love it so much. And the book was just as beautiful, just as amazing, and you get so much more backstory, so much more depth. And I just love the story in general, whether it's told in the book form or the movie form. It's just a beautiful story. It's about this girl named Sam Kingston. She's in this clique of like popular girls. The clique is mainly run by one girl named Lindsay, who's very generous, very kind to her friends, but she's quite mean to a lot of other people at the school. She's a big bully, basically. She's very, very disrespectful and just not a great person. And then one day they go to this house party on Valentine's Day. Something terrible happens at the party. They leave, and then they are driving and are involved in an accident. And then the next day, Sam wakes up to find that she is going through the exact same Valentine's Day all over again. So this has the Groundhog Day trope where you're like going through every single day, like all the time. And I've seen some people rate this book low because they're like, oh, the Groundhog Day trope is so repetitive. And it's like, of course it is. That's the whole point. Like, of course it's going to be repetitive. I've seen people say the same about like Do-Over by Lynn Painter, and it's the Groundhog Day trope. Like, of course it's going to be repetitive because your character is going through the exact same day. But I will say that I would have found it repetitive if Sam was just the same way every single day. But she has so much character growth, so much character development. You really get to see her change as a person, which is just so beautiful to see. And it's just written so beautifully. Like, the writing in this book is so beautiful. I was highlighting so many things, and it was just such stunning writing, like really so beautiful, so poetic. And the romance subplot is one of my favorite romance subplots ever. If you actually go to my Instagram, I did a recent post where I'm like sharing all of my like favorite movie couples, and the couple from this book is featured in that post, so definitely go check that out. The trope is childhood friends to strangers to lovers, and it's just so beautiful because it's like she kind of like ignores him. She doesn't want to talk to him, even though they had this whole cute friendship back in like, what was it, like 3rd grade or something, and he just tries to get her attention. He knows that there's still a good person in there, and he's just so wholesome. He has golden retriever energy. It's just the cutest trope ever. But yeah, this book really does such a good job of showing that, everyone's flawed, and that hurt people, and it makes you feel sorry for everyone, even the mean girls. It really does. And it's just so emotional, so moving, such a beautiful read. I cried at the end. I always cry at the end of the movie, always. No matter how many times I'll watch it, I'll always cry at the ending, even though I know what's going to happen. And it's just such a beautiful story. And if you take anything away from this video, this very long, long video, please read this book and watch the movie. Or even if you don't want to read the book, watch the movie. Or if you don't want to watch the movie, then read the book. Like, either way, please just check out this story, because it's so lovely. And I definitely want to see if I can check out some more books by this author, because she is such an amazing writer. But yeah, I adored this book. 5 stars, like, so perfect. I cannot thank you guys enough for watching or even clicking on this video. I know this video is insanely long because I just have the gift of the gab. I love to talk about anything, especially books. So I am definitely not offended if you guys maybe skimmed through some books or whatever it is, but I'm just so grateful if you even clicked on this. I love books. I love talking about books. I loved doing this monthly wrap up. I will definitely try and do one for April and make it shorter for sure. That was a lot of S words, but again, thank you for watching. Please like and share and subscribe and comment. Let me know what book from this video you would like to read. Let me know what was your favorite book from March, or if you have any book recs or just anything. Comment anything you want, and maybe I will try and post some reading vlogs, the books that I'm planning to read in April, because I do have a lot of fun ones that are planned for April. So just thank you again for watching. I love you so much, and I hope that you have an amazing day, and happy reading to you.